job back to D-Lab, and what was waiting for me? This wood crate, and I believe there's an amplifier inside of it. It's been a long time since I fixed a tube amp for you guys because I've been concentrating on a bunch of ham radio stuff, so I thought it's about time. It's very well packed, and there's actually some instructions on top of how to open this thing up. Let's pop it out and check it out, see what's going on. So I'd have to say that this is the most protective packaging I've ever seen for a guitar amp. This guy must really love this thing. And he labeled the screws for removal, right? And if you look, the heads of the screws are color-coded. Very cool. So I get these out, we'll lift the lid, and check out the project. Alright, all the screws are out. Alright, detailed letter from the owner. Oh, I didn't realize it was actually in a cabinet. I thought it was just going to be a chassis. So we'll have to get this thing out and check it out. But it appears as though he has an issue with the output tubes. One of them says is running hot and the other one's running cold. Well, that's the best mix, right? I'll just like add them together and they'll run warm. He'll be all set. Well, here she is. It's made by Wangs. Never heard of the amp, but it's a very professional looking machine. Nice sturdy cabinet. Hey, you know, maybe this is what Nugent was using when he wrote Wango Tango. Okay, enough of the puns. Let's check around the back side here. Alright, looks like it runs a pair of EL34s, 4, 8, and 16 ohm outputs. So I'm going to get the chassis out, we'll fire it up, and see the hot and cold tube. There she slides out of the cabinet pretty easily. You see the power transformer with all kinds of writing that I can't understand. So yep, she's made in China. And everything's mounted on what looks like an eyelet board. That's no circus board. So that's alright. Alright, good deal. Well, I'll fire it up. Let's see what we got going. So I've got the amp powered up and it's just sitting here idling. I have not turned on the high voltage. So what I want to do first is just verify that we have negative bias on pin 5. So there's negative 27 on that one, negative 27 on that one. That's a good sign. Now I also noticed they have some little 1 ohm current shunts on each of these tubes to ground. So we can monitor the current through the tube directly. Okay? So we'll just range down 200 millivolts, right? I'm going to turn on standby. Let's see what that current is idling at. Whoa, baby overranged. That is not a good sign. Try it again. Oh yeah, that's like really bad. Okay, we'll go over here and check this side. That's bad too. So I've got like a volt, right, where you would normally see, say, 30 to 40 millivolts. So it's an indication that either these tubes are shorted or the output transformer has some terrible issue, or maybe even a power supply issue. So real quick, since I can control the situation, let's take a look at our screen voltage. It's coming in here. Okay. Yep, so that one's okay. About 400 volts. Seems kind of high. 400 volts on that one. So we have screen voltage, we have negative voltage, but we have excessive plate current. That's very strange, and I can hear those tubes just panging when I turn it on. They're like, whoa, shut off that high voltage, right? So what I want to do at this point, we'll kill it. I want to go ahead and put these tubes on a tube checker and make sure that we just don't have shorted EL34s. So here's a fun fact for you. For the heck of it, I thought, you know, I'm going to measure these current shunts. They should be 1 ohm, right? That's the typical value. So here's this one here. It's actually 9.3 ohms, so I was wrong. These are 10 ohm resistors, okay? And then the one up here Look at there, it's 21 ohms. Very strange. So I believe that maybe this guy changed value due to the excessive current. And that one is still trying to function. But look at this. Hear that? When I'm going off the side of the resistor, look at there. There must be a little chip in the paint over there. But either way, this one's good, that one's bad. Let's check those output tubes. Well, I tested the output tubes on my Amplitrex, and they're about 75% emissions or so. So yeah, they're hurt, but they're not shorted, so they are not causing this problem. Well, I just noticed something else is kind of odd about this amp. The problem is still there. I put the output tubes back in, but if you look at my watt meter over here on the audio test set, now remember, I do not have a signal applied to this amp. I'm going to turn on the high voltage and look at the meter. See that? There's like output there with nothing connected. So I'm going to pull the inverter tube and we will try this test again and see if that problem goes away. Alright, I have removed the inverter tube. I'm going to bring the high voltage back up and let's see if that wattage out on the dummy load goes away. Here we go. Yep. So we either have a bad inverter tube or something in that circuitry is throwing some crazy signal out and making these tubes go warp drive. We're getting there. So I reinstalled the inverter tube and decided I was going to pull out both of the preamp tubes, which were these no brand 12AX7s. Okay, I'm sure that they probably came with the amp. So I thought, okay, let's do the same test and see if that wattage output goes away and the tubes stop going crazy. So when I took the shields off, I noticed that this tube was not in the socket. It was inside the shield, but it wasn't actually plugged in. That may have been what was causing this. So I'm going to turn on the standby switch and let's watch the output meter. Nothing. Now let's put the 12AX7s back in and see if the problem comes back. So I have the 12AX7s reinstalled. This one was very difficult to put in. This one snapped right into position, but it appears to be kind of loose in the socket. I'm going to turn back on the amp and let's see what we get. There it is. Problem's back. So there's something going on with either these 12AX7s, the tube sockets, or the associated wiring underneath. This is a good one. Now I have the first 12AX7 pulled. The second one is still in. We're going to flip on standby. No issue. So there's something going on in the first preamp position. So I thought, for the heck of it, why don't I go ahead and swap the position of the 12AX7s, okay? So right now position 2 is not being utilized. I have this one, which used to be over here, installed in this slot. Let's see if that weird problem goes away. Alright, no issue. Now, let's put that tube back in that spot. Well, this one's really throwing me for a spin, guys. I've swapped the tubes and the problem remains, okay? If I leave one out, whether it's slot 2 or slot 1, flip it on, the problem goes away, okay? It's not there. Now watch. I'm going to put the first tube back in. This one's pretty tight, but that's okay. We'll let her warm up. And we'll turn it on here. Here we go. Problem returns. So it's not a bad tube, but it's a fact that both of these are installed, so there's some kind of interaction going on here. I think I'm gonna just have to go underneath and buzz out this circuit and see if I can find something that's shorted or very weird. Obviously I do not have the schematic for this thing, so I'll just do the best I can. Well, I've made a discovery, and I believe this is what's causing the issues. Here is tube 1, right? First preamp tube. Now look, I'm moving the socket. You see how everything moves together? The pins, a whole bit. Now here is tube 2. Look at that guy. It is all over the map. Now here is what really got me thinking. See that 100K resistor? I can move that lead back and forth like it's not even connected to that tube. I think that the pins in slot 2 here are damaged. So what I'm going to do is replace this tube socket. We'll test, and if the problem's gone, we're going to change out all these sockets. Put some decent ones in there and she'll probably be fixed. Well, here is the replacement socket. This is made by the Belden company, Michael X they call them. A very good tube socket. That is what I'm going to put in the place of all these Chinese ones. Alright, the new Michael X socket is installed in slot 2. There's the old Chinese driver out. Got her powered up. Let's flip on standby and see if my watt meter stays at 0, and if it does, we're probably on the road. Here we go. It's on. I'm not seeing any movement on that watt meter. So I betcha this guy is good to go. But let's measure that bias current, right? Let's see what the current is through those output tubes and see if that is also gone. Now remember, I still have to change those little shunt resistors, but we know we had some crazy amperage before. Let's see what we have now. Alright, same deal. Let's check our negative bias. There it is. 26 on that guy. 26 on that guy. So that's good. Now we're going to look at the current through the output tubes, which is on these shunts. Now remember, one of them is actually damaged, but before we had some crazy current, right? I just want to make sure that's gone. Just turned on standby. Still not good. 2 volts on that one, 1 volt on that one. But remember, that shunt is reading double what this one is. So how about we change those out with 1 ohm resistors and remeasure that bias, okay? Well, now I've put in 1 ohm current shunts, okay? So what we see in millivolts is direct current going through the output tubes. So I just flipped around. Here's 1 output tube. Gotta be careful here. 34 milliamps. Here's this guy up here. 31 milliamps. And they're stable. So yep, those old resistors are playing games with me. Now it's time to put a signal through this thing, see if it amplifies. And after that, I need to change out the rest of these tube sockets. Here we go, live signal time. Got an audio generator going in channel 1, oscilloscope. We're stealing the signal off of the audio test set. So I'm going to bring up loudness number 1. You see we got output on the dummy load. Good sign. Turn it up and down. Let's look at the scope. There she is. So it's working. Good deal. So the amp is on the road to recovery. Well, I thought it'd be a good opportunity to take this tube socket apart so we can determine exactly what that failure mode was causing this amp to go wacko, right? So here it is. I've got it apart. I cut the pop rivet and took the top half off of this ceramic tube socket. So if you look at these contacts, you'll see the metal has kind of a gray appearance. There's no shiny surfaces like contact quality surfaces that would grip those tube pins. So I don't know what happened to this thing. This amp is only a few years old, yet this tube socket has deteriorated, and you can see this kind of black powder, kind of a breakdown of the material, causing maybe some arcing between pins. And that, I believe, was causing what we assume was like feedback being transmitted through the inverter tube to the output tubes. So unfortunately, these sockets, if you have these in your amp, I'd get them out. Replace them with some good quality sockets, because this problem is probably present on the other two sockets that I have not replaced. So obviously I'm going to change all of them, including the output tube sockets, because I also have an intermittent filament issue with these. Even though the contacts look okay, I do see some spreading, and I'm concerned about the contact quality. So it was a great amp, but not great sockets. So that was quite the old tango with the Wango amp, wasn't it? D-Lab's going to put that one in the history book. Something I'll be looking for in the future. You know, that thing had me going for a while, and then I thought, you know, those sockets I've had issues with in the past, but I've never taken one apart to see what that true failure mode was. And now that I have, I don't want to cause bad feelings, but guys, if you're going to build a quality amp that you want to run for years, don't use those sockets, alright? Spend a couple extra bucks, buy the Michael-X, buy some good new old stock cinch sockets. You know, it's save yourself a lot of heartache, and you don't have to get in here after a couple years and put in new sockets. Looks like the problem's been narrowed down. Now, to ensure reliability with this amp, I'm going to change out the rest of the tube sockets using the Belden Michael-X series, and I'm going to put in a complete new set of tubes. I'll rebias it, give her a little bit of a burn-in, it should be good to go. Moral of the story, if you want a good amp, especially if you're going to build one, use good quality components, or they'll come around and they'll bite you. Yep, D-Lab's been doing some other repairs lately, a lot of ham stuff, but I'm still into the tube gear. I'm just trying to balance it out, right? Hope you enjoy it. If you like it, tell your friends. Subscribe to D-Lab. I'll keep it good.